Hey guys, my name is Tarkelson, and today I'm going to be doing a care video on Savannah monitors. Now, care on Savannah monitors is a very controversial topic. Um, Hundreds of different ways you can take care of them, but in my belief and many of the professional breeders, some of the the only four in the world that can breed Savannah monitors, go off of a website called savannahmonitor.net. If you're getting one, I recommend viewing that because that is the most accurate and up-to-date care information on Savannah monitors that there is. Because 99% of the videos on YouTube are completely inaccurate because they're either super outdated or the person it's the type of person that says it's okay to put a goldfish in a fishbowl, if you know what I mean. So I just kind of wanted to give you the accurate care. So there was another accurate video on YouTube. There are several, but not enough. And I just kind of wanted to show you how a 16-year-old could take care of one, instead of seeing all these big-time breeders and, 35, 40-year-olds that spend thousands of dollars on their elaborate cages and crap. So, yeah, to get started, the most important thing probably is space. So right here, this is a 4.5 foot by 3 foot wide cage. This is only about half the size of the cage that he's supposed to be in. And that's because of limited space, but this will do for about a year, which is how long I need. This will do for now. It's plenty of space until he gets about a foot long or so, maybe around 2 feet. Then it'll start getting kind of tight. But if you can get them the enclosure they need, at the sooner the better, because it's complete BS and an old wives' tale that small lizards get scared of big spaces. It's not accurate. But the more space you can give them, the better. Another huge important thing is right here is dirt. Okay, they're a burrowing species. This is all they will do. You see this hole right here? He dug all of that out. He dug a big tunnel in there that goes like about a foot under the ground. Hello, Gucci. And then he's got one under this rock that I actually kind of covered up, so he'll probably just dig back into it. And he's dug a few others behind those rocks back there. That's where he came out of. But yeah, so dirt. They need a minimum of 24 inches. Right now I got 20 inches, but it's not that big of a cage. So I'm kind of limited. What I'm thinking about doing is making the back portion, back there and over there, 2.5, 3 feet deep. And then kind of make this top layer a little shallower because, I can't go up over the rails. But then that'll give them a little extra digging space, and I think it'll kind of look cool. But yeah, and now when you have that much dirt in there, it needs to be bioactive. So what that means for those of you that don't know is there are microorganisms living in this dirt. Things called isopods, springtails, and millipedes, centipedes, stuff that you see in your garden. They break down all the waste and poop and nasty stuff, mold, all that gross stuff in the cage. This cage, I open it and I stick my head in there when I need to fill up his water bowl or whatever, and it smells like a fresh forest. I mean, it's fantastic. It's like an air freshener for my room. That's how clean they keep it, and it's not hard either. All you got to do is, as long as if your backyard or farm or wherever the hell you are has fertilizer and pesticides and all that, don't do that. That your bioactive microorganisms will never live, and it could poison your it could poison your lizard. So what you want to do is, if your yard is full of that stuff, just go out to the woods or by a stream or something like that in the middle of nowhere where there's no additives or sprays or anything, and just get a whole bunch of rocks, logs, sticks. You can even get all the dirt. See, my yard is fertilized, so I can't do that, so I had to buy organic topsoil. Do not buy potting soil that has additives in it, but get organic topsoil with nothing in it but natural, just normal wood chunks and dirt. And that'll be perfectly fine. It's super duper cheap. It's like $1.50 for 20 pounds of it. I have probably 100 pounds in here, but still, it's pretty cheap. All this wood I got in here, I got outside by a creek by my house, and since it's been outside and it's all natural, it came with a whole bunch of the bugs that break down stuff, and it comes with beetles. If you can get beetles, that's fantastic, because what they'll do is they like to eat rotted wood. I'm gonna keep it on him for now because that's a good shot. He's coming out to explore. But oh, now he's hiding. So I don't know if it'll pick it up well, but right there you can kind of see the tone difference. See how it's like darker against the light? That's where I have several superworm beetles in there, and they're actually eating away at the rotting and old wood, keeping it nice and clean. And so that's super handy. Then they lay their eggs, and I like to keep the superworm and mealworm beetles in there because I know if they lay the eggs and their larvae are crawling around, he can eat them safely without any parasites or anything. He will not eat the beetles because 90% of beetles produce what's called musk, and it makes them stink really bad, so he doesn't want to eat them. But yeah, so the more bugs, the better. Spiders are pretty good too. I have a few house spiders. One's behind that log, and then there's a funnel web behind that one right there. But they hang back there, and they eat all like the flies and gnats and crap that go in there, and it keeps it real nice and fresh. I had an infestation in here actually, and I brought a few spiders in, and they completely took care of it, like within a week. So those guys are pretty handy. Let's see what else. That's pretty much it. Now, what you want to do is you want to keep their soil constantly wet, 24/7. Now, I'm not saying soaking, because the top layer to be dry is fine, because that's, really bone dry. But if I dig down a little bit, you can see super wet. Not soaking to the point where it's dripping water, but it's wet. You want it nice and damp, because that'll provide a good burrowing medium for him, and it'll hold his burrows. Now, another thing about holding his burrows and dirt and all that is, if you buy the topsoil, look in the ingredients, because if there's sand in there, you're probably pretty set, because I got mine with sand, and there's an insane amount of sand in this tank, or cage. But they need that sand because it's part of their natural dirt, and it helps hold the burrows more. So if you can't do that, I recommend just getting like a 20-pound bag of play sand or something. Throw it in there, throw all the dirt on top, and mix it up real good. And that works just fine. What are you doing? I just fed him so he looked really fat. But yeah, that's it on Substrate and all that. They don't need plants. I mean, in the wild where they come from, it's all grass, but that's kind of hard to keep alive in a tank where you can just trample it all day. But I have a bromeliad for when he's young. When he gets older, I'm going to have to take it out, unless he kills it first, because they will crush it. He's crawling on it now, and it's bent a few of the leaves over. But we'll see. It's really pretty. I like it. It adds color to his tank, because he was squashing everything else I was putting in here. Right here is probably the second most important part of their cage, other than the dirt, is their basking spot. Now, what you want is a very, very large, I guess not very, very large, but a decent sized basking spot with like a minimum of 2 bulbs. And why you want to do that is because if there's one bulb focused up there, that means that it's going to beam down the heat in one spot, and that's really bad, because what your lizard will do is it won't cover his entire body unless he's like newborn, and it'll actually burn, because he'll have trouble getting his whole body. So what'll happen is you'll stick one part in at a time, and then that one part will get super hot and burn. My guy's actually, I burnt him before I had the correct care for him. But I burnt him. He lost a couple toes and the tip of his tail, which was very sad. And no, they won't ever grow those back. But I mean, stuff happens, But prevent that by doing a big basking spot with at least 2 bulbs, lower wattage bulbs. So I have 275s right there, and that brings the whole area, like right there, like 4 inches wide, 12 inches long, roughly, about 140 to 150, and that's perfect. That's exactly what you need. Now, if I had that heat right there in that one spot under that one bulb, it would burn him. Like, it would singe him really bad. I just have this because that helps kind of get the basking spot up, and 3 bulbs are better than 2. And that gets the ambient temperature in here a lot warmer too. And that's pretty much it. They need between 70 and 80% humidity 24/7 throughout their, or I guess on the cool side, because on a hot side it's pretty dry, but over here you want it about 65, 70 degrees in the 80s, right around there. They got a good range that they'll handle. Just don't let it drop below 60. And you want the temperature to be in the mid to low 80s. Too, if you make it too cold, even if they bask, they won't digest their food properly. They'll get sick because they're in cold, wet dirt. Hello. Because they're in cold, wet dirt. You just want to keep it nice and warm. Hey, don't you hide. Oh, there he is. Now, a thing on handling is I could do a whole video on that, but for right now, to keep things kind of quick, for handling, you never want to force grab them because, that just freaks them out. Now, I would never condone force grabbing with any species of reptile. Like leopard geckos and crested geckos, they're so docile, and not to say they're dumb, but they're not nearly as intelligent as monitors. They won't really get that bothered by it. Might scare them the first few times, but that's about it. But with these guys, you want them to come to you. See, right now I'm not reaching in there, grabbing him, pulling him out, showing him stuff, and he's just kind of freely exploring, wandering around. He's not enjoying the light too much, but and earlier when I was feeding him, he was crawling all over me, licking me and stuff. When I was done feeding him, he kind of sat on me for a minute, said his thanks, and then walked over to his basking spot. And so you want them to do that. I've only had this guy for like 4.5, 5 months, and he's already warming up to me, which is actually pretty fast because some people, they'll have them from newborns, and it'll take them like 2 years to warm up. So these guys, it's just a waiting game. You just got to be patient, work with them, and let them do what they want. Because if you force handle them and stuff, yes, they will become docile, but that's just because they're scared of you. And once they get 3 feet long, which is their max size, some of them get 4 feet, they will not hesitate to tear fingers off if they feel like they need to protect themselves. They will shred your hand to pieces. Same with Asian water monitors, except they're 6 feet long, so they can do a lot more damage. But iguanas, everything else. It's just, you got to let them do what they want, because if you force them, you can't really force something like this. This is basically a dinosaur. These guys, they haven't been inbred and mutated down to, Labradors and poodles. They're still very, very wild animals and very high on the food chain where they come from. So you just got to keep that in mind. Hello. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.